Hi, welcome to Tinfoil Handkerchief Alignment, and today I'm going to talk about the second energy center within the body, the sacral chakra. This chakra is the energy center for sexual orientation, creative expression, and relationship with food. It's located just below the navel and is essentially the area that would be referred to as muffin top. Between being a representation of our energetic relationship to food and also our sense of taste, I find the sacral chakra being located in the muffin top kind of funny, but it also makes sense. As far as sense of taste goes, I personally think there are a couple ways to look at that. It can either be how we actually taste things in a physical sense, or on a more spiritual level, representing our personal tastes of how we enjoy success and abundance in love, life, and creativity. The element of water and its associated astrological signs of Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, as well as the planets Venus and Jupiter, are associated to the sacral chakra as well, which can also mean that imbalances impact certain traits within people of those particular signs, maybe more so than some other signs. Now, Venus as a deity is also equivalent to Aphrodite, they're just different mythologies. So, Venus's connection to the sacral chakra actually makes sense in context of intimate connections or experiences or how we relate to love. Jupiter is the planet of abundance in life, mostly overall, but in terms of the sacral chakra, I perceive that to be abundance in love and creativity. The sacral chakra is also associated with the color orange, which is a warm, energetic color and can be a bold, creative expression. As mentioned previously, vibrance or strength of the color can also determine the impact it has. Orange can stimulate creativity and mental function, and it can boost self-confidence. I'm trying to wear clothing associated with the chakras as I'm talking about them, except I don't really own anything that's orange that doesn't look like it's meant for a club. So this is about as close as we're getting to orange as far as clothing goes today. Now, I'm not super familiar with color therapy, but it's said that the color orange can help provide a supplementary level of relief for things like arthritis, depression, colds, gastrointestinal issues, fatigue, kidney and liver disease, or stiffness. Apparently, orange also helps alleviate symptoms of agoraphobia. Now, I'll never say I'm a fully healed person, and I can fully admit that I've become kind of agoraphobic over the last couple years. So to me, this is really interesting, and maybe I need to incorporate more orange into my life. But I'm also not crazy about super bold oranges, and I kind of feel like making a joke about how it would make me want to leave the house more. The mantras of VAM and OM, as well as D notes, help stimulate and rebalance the sacral chakra. Like with color, though, strength and frequency and tone can change the level of impact or desired results. So you just want to make sure that you try to stay balanced with it. As far as crystals and stuff I use to help rebalance the sacral chakra, I have some carnelian chunks, and there is also tiger's eye. I also love moonstone personally, but you can also use golden topaz. And as far as scents go, I usually use sandalwood, but you can also use rose and jasmine, just as tools to kind of help stimulate the flow of the sacral chakra so that it starts functioning properly again. The better you get to know your internal energetic system, the more you'll be able to discern how to find balance with how to determine how much of tuning you need to rebalance, without doing too much, causing overactivity in the chakra, or too little, which would still make an impact but probably won't be as noticeable as you had intended. Although the energetic center of the sacral chakra is carried within the muffin top, there are a number of other areas within the body that it helps to regulate. Our stomachs and digestive system help us process food, which can also impact how we view our physical appearance and self-perception, which could be because stomachs have been commonly perceived as a benchmark for a beauty standard. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just making the connection between stomach and self-perception. That could very well be because I was never slim and my stomach was what I often used as a guideline. As I learned to balance my chakras, though, I don't put so much emphasis on that as it pertains to how I judge my standard of physical beauty the way I once did. Bladder, gallbladder, kidneys, liver, pancreas, spleen, and upper intestines all have a filtration component, as well as help with regulation and metabolization of different things that each one is responsible for. Skin and reproductive organs are within the sacral chakra too, though there is also a component for men in the root chakra when it comes to reproductive organs. Something like liver dysfunction can also cause jaundice, which can turn skin yellow. Another example of how it's all kind of connected. Sacral chakra imbalances in a mental or spiritual form would be things like feelings of sexual guilt, low libido, or sexual dissatisfaction, or an overactive desire but lack of sexual intimacy. It could also look like shyness, creative blocks, distrust, overambition, or doing things for self-serving purposes. To be clear, self-serving and self-care are different things, and I think that's where a lot of people get confused. I would even put selfishness as a middle point between the two, but they are all separate, distinct things, in my opinion. Being self-serving is doing things without consideration for other things or people while trying to gain something. Selfishness is a lack of consideration for others, and self-care is knowing when to be considerate and knowing when to prioritize yourself. I think that's the piece a lot of us struggle with, the line between others viewing things we do as selfish and our own personal needs. It's a balance, and it's not the same in every situation from interaction to interaction. In my opinion, self-care is really about learning your personal boundaries so you're better able to discern when you should prioritize yourself in a situation and when to give extra consideration to other things. In a physical form, sacral imbalances can look like UTIs, bladder, bowel, or kidney problems, which could even be constipation, which is essentially a physical blockage. Impotence and poor circulation are also indicative of blocks in the sacral chakra on both a spiritual and physical level. Either way, it's energy unable to flow where it's intended to flow. In women, that would look more like menstrual irregularities. On that note, though, a heavy flow wouldn't necessarily be an indicator of overactivity, but would be an indicator that there is some sort of imbalance. I personally think cramps are more of a gauge to the severity of the imbalance. Maybe not day one cramps, because those are always a write-off, but for the rest of the period. Muscle cramps in general, stiffness, or swollen and or tender ankles and legs can also indicate different variations or progression of imbalances or blockages. To me, cramps and stiffness would be more indicative of blockages, where swelling or tenderness would be more representative of overactivity within those areas of the body that fall within the energetic center of the sacral chakra. Skin problems and allergies are also associated with imbalances in this chakra. My interpretation of it would be thinking that a healthy, balanced sacral chakra gives a natural glow that gets more dull or deteriorates the more blocked or excessively overactive the sacral chakra is. Those with skin problems or allergies often struggle with self-expression because of how those issues can physically present themselves, which can often look like a variety of things and can have different levels of meaning for different people that it impacts. As I've said before, some ailments can be physical representations of strong negative emotions, which contribute to the overall functionality of energetic flow within our bodies. For example, holding on to grief, anger, and anxiety can cause stomach and digestion issues. I really do stand by this one because I know this has typically been true for me. I would also say that many of my reproductive issues, creative blocks, and lack of motivation started to clear up when I became more confident in myself as a person, when I decided to heal and work through my traumas in a healthy, positive way, and when I stopped running from emotions that I didn't want to feel and started acknowledging that they were there, but I didn't and don't have to let them consume me. I stopped looking to get into relationships for the sake of being in one, and I stopped giving too much of myself to those who I felt they were taking more than they were giving. Honestly, when I decided to abstain until I found a truly intimate connection, I felt more confidence within my value as a partner and to be able to focus on the things that bring joy and balance back into my life. I didn't always feel as energetically drained anymore. I actually think that skin conditions are an important overall indicator to energetic health because they're more physically visible than a lot of other symptoms of imbalance that would also be considered physical. I consider them to be early warning signs of a larger energetic imbalance. There are a couple different ways to which I believe that to be true. One, I'll start with the one that's less energetically based, which is environment. There's a lot of different meanings and scales to what environment could mean. It can be physical, spiritual, or emotional environment. If you think about it in a general sense, it can literally be as simple as spring allergies being a reaction to an energetic change in the environment as everything thaws out from the winter. Yes, there is a lot with that the average person can't control, but diet can help improve reaction to irritants as well. A healthy relationship to food is part of having a balanced sacral chakra. I have a personal theory that skin conditions are indicators that an individual is under spiritual attack in some capacity. Though a skin condition itself is associated with the sacral chakra, how or where it presents itself on an individual could be a good indication of other potential chakras under attack or imbalanced or blocked. Skin is the largest organ of the body, and what I'll call intimate moments are usually a complete connection between individuals, an internal connection with full body skin to skin contact. Our reproductive organs and skin are large connectors that spread across the body, internally and externally. These are the easiest access points for spiritual attacks and attachments, with the most available opportunities to spread and create visible or noticeable physical issues. So where they are visible is more likely to be an energetic converging point where it would be most prevalent or severe. If you have a skin condition and are trying to figure out if it's a spiritual attack or not, it depends on whether or not you follow spiritual boundaries and how good your intentions are when interacting with other people, spiritually or physically. If you haven't participated in any spiritual attacks, then it's likely you have been the target of a spiritual attack. But again, it depends on other factors such as environment and stuff as well. Which leads me to 3, skin conditions as the result of backfires from failed spiritual attacks. It would only happen if you were participating in a ritual to spiritually attack someone else and is likely a physical manifestation of the intention you sent towards them. There are a number of reasons why that can happen, but that's its own topic for another day. Just to be clear, though it can be true, a spiritual attack or attachment on the sacral chakra doesn't exclusively mean having or contracting a sexually transmitted disease. But, and this is my own personal theory, I do believe there is an increased chance of getting a spiritually transmitted energetic attachment in intimate encounters that aren't based in intimacy, love, or trust, which a skin condition elsewhere on the body may be indicative of. Balancing internal energy and maintaining healthy flow within the chakras helps better detect and identify a spiritual attack, which helps if you do end up with a negative energetic attachment, because then you'll know which areas within yourself need a little extra love. The more we repair within ourselves, the less holes in our spirit for those kinds of attachments to feed on. I personally think that in the modern age, the sacral chakra is most susceptible to spiritual attack because the ways it's left exposed, many of the interactions aren't seen as spiritual or profound to the extent to which they can be. I also think the solar plexus is also susceptible and a common target and strongly connected to the sacral. Dysfunction between them, in my opinion, impacts the root chakra as well and spiritually paralyzes the lower chakras. So I've found that maintaining balance within my sacral gives me a healthier baseline for both the solar plexus and the root chakras, improving overall energetic functionality, which creates more foundational balance. Now, I personally think sexual orientation in relation to the sacral chakra is more about healthy desires and intimacy in the physical, emotional, and spiritual senses, and not what kind of partners you're attracted to. And to be clear, it also doesn't mean not having any proclivities, fantasies, or interests in things that might be considered a little too taboo. You'd worry what your church friends would think. It's about exploring those desires within an intimate and loving connection based in trust and without judgment. Being able to trust someone enough to be willing to try something new together and laugh about it if it's not perfect, or what was expected, maybe it's even a complete fail. But that also helps build the intimacy and the trust that judgment of performance or enjoyability will be lenient or fair if either decides they don't enjoy what you just tried. Proceeding like that makes partners more willing to still try new things, even if the last thing you tried didn't go as expected. I can't actually say that I've ever experienced a healthy, intimate connection with a partner who loves me and who I trust completely, but I do make sure to say when I'm enjoying something, vocalize when I've enjoyed a performance, even if it's nothing extraordinary, and I try to make embarrassing mishaps lighthearted learning experiences. I can also say that I've always been the type of partner to try to establish trust and show that I have enough patience and empathy to understand that not every intimate moment is going to be the greatest ever. But the more intimate the connection, there will be more moments that feel memorable. Think of it like the honeymoon phase or even the talking phase of a relationship. What makes it so exciting? I used to think, and I'm inclined to believe that there are many who would have a similar perspective on this, that it was the newness and the attention that usually happens at the beginning. I've also typically struggled a lot with my own intimacy issues, so it's an area I've worked really hard to recalibrate internally, and I realized I was confusing intimacy and connection for attraction and presence. So from a more healed perspective, when I asked myself again, what makes the honeymoon phase so exciting? It's not the attention. It's the getting to know somebody. Within an intimate connection, there's always something to get to know, so to speak, and with the person you most want to explore that with, at least at that time in your life. That's what makes it so exciting and enjoyable. I'm also a learn something new every day type person, so to me, intimate connections, when nurtured in a healthy way, are like the learn something new every day of relationships. As relationships progress, we often perceive that there's less to get to know. I don't actually think that's true. I personally think that if you feel like there's less to get to know as a relationship goes on, then you're not asking the right questions, or you're only asking surface level ones. The same can be said for different types of relationships and not just intimate ones. For me personally, but I also believe it to be true for many others, is the biggest blockage for intimacy is fear due to lack of trust and concerns about judgment. I'll also clarify that for me, trust is a weird one. I've typically been more emotionally trusting than physically trusting, but that's from my personal life experience. I'll also be totally honest in saying I'm not near as emotionally trusting as I used to be either. But that's why building an intimate connection based in trust, love, and patience has become much more important to me than it used to be. I feel physically safest when I feel emotionally connected to the person I'm sharing an intimate moment with. Like I said before, I'm not above admitting my own shortcomings, but at least when I do, I can work to heal those still unhealed spaces. Just because you have strengths and weaknesses doesn't mean your weaknesses can't become strengths. You just have to be able to honestly identify what makes you feel weak, so to speak, in whatever particular area it applies to. Between that and starting to feel just kind of empty from connections where there was a lack of intimacy is what led to my decision to abstain from sex until I could find a connection more suited to what I was looking for as far as intimacy goes. Those previous connections weren't exclusive, but I personally still operated with a level of monogamy within them. I'm just really notoriously bad for confusing passion with connection. It just started to feel like a waste of energy, which had absolutely nothing to do with what would otherwise be considered consistently good performances. It had everything to do with me not liking feeling emotionally disconnected from anyone physically connecting with me. Although it would still feel physically good, I would feel spiritually depleted. It felt like I was giving away so many pieces of myself that there wasn't much left for me. Having sex is essentially an energetic exchange. When it's not intimate, it will leave one or both feeling depleted or used and chasing a climactic rush. When it is intimate, it generates more rejuvenating energy and passion that can contribute to building a deeper connection between the two of you. Like I believe for many things, it's about quality, not quantity, when it comes to nurturing your spirit. Though multiple partners may sound exciting, sharing love, trust, and intimacy with one person is like nurturing the spirit for both of you. My current level of abstinence also includes less sexual self-love. I've noticed that I feel creative and inspired more often when touching myself like that less. I thought I was at least containing my energy within myself, but I was still feeling energetically drained. Though it can be fun and a nice little release in the moment, I found that I just overall lacked the desire without an intimate connection. Also, the lack of desire can be a sign of an imbalanced sacral chakra. My interpretation of that is when you lack desire when you have a partner or intimate connection. Balancing your chakras overall has a lot to do with self-control and learning what is worth sharing your energy with. Since I don't have a partner, in the meantime, I would rather focus that energy on other things usually something creative instead. Another reason why I personally think the intimacy is important to sex as it pertains to a healthy and functional sacral chakra goes back to how the skin can glow, because it glows more after intimate moments to the point where it can be noticeable from other people. That glow is sustainable with continued monogamous intimate connections based in love and trust. The best part is, it's fun for all, costs nothing, can be done in 10 minutes, and you don't even need to leave the house. And if you're in a long-term monogamous intimate relationship based in love and trust, you can literally do it whenever you want, as much as you want. And I personally think that if more people tried it within their own connections, it would probably become the highest rated new skincare routine. If you do it just to do it, it won't have the same effect. It's the authenticity of the love and the depth of the trust that have the greatest impact. If you're faking it for good skin, it still won't be sustainable or as beneficial as it could be because you're not bringing the right intentions to the connection or the moment, which would indicate there is still an imbalance within your own energy that is preventing your ability to connect with someone else in a healthy way. Like I've said before, when it comes to energetic recalibration, all the hard work is done within self. When you're the best version of you, you're able to bring out the best in others. It's worth giving a try. So that's just a little overview on the sacral chakra. Stay tuned as we work our way through the rest of the chakras. And until next time, keep the peace.